Let me describe your month. You get paid, you feel fine, maybe even good. You cover rent, utilities, the usual. You grab groceries, you go out once or twice because you've been working hard and you've earned it. You buy something you've been putting off. Nothing crazy, nothing you'd be embarrassed to explain. Then, about 10 days before your next paycheck, you check your account and wonder where it all went. You're not irresponsible. You're not reckless. You didn't blow money on anything dramatic, but somehow the number is lower than it should be. And you're back to waiting. Here's the thing. That's not a willpower problem. It's not a discipline problem. It's not even really an income problem. It's a structure problem. And the difference between people who build wealth slowly and steadily versus people who earn decent money but never seem to get ahead comes down almost entirely to one thing: whether or not they have a system that works before they make a single spending decision. That's what this video is about. Meet two people, same city, same age, 28, same take-home pay, $4,200 a month after taxes. We'll call them Jordan and Casey. Same starting point, same number. The only difference is what each of them does in the first 48 hours after getting paid. Jordan does what most people do. The paycheck lands, the bills get covered, and the rest just kind of exists in the account until it's gone. No real plan. Spending happens organically. A little here, a little there. Jordan isn't wasteful by nature. But without a defined structure, the money doesn't have anywhere specific to go, so it goes everywhere. Casey does one thing differently. Before any discretionary spending happens, before coffee, before subscriptions, before weekend plans, Casey moves money into specific places first. A fixed amount to savings, a fixed amount to investments. What's left is what Casey has to work with for the month, not what happens to be in the account. What's left after the important things are already handled. Same income, same city, same age, two completely different financial trajectories, and we're going to walk through exactly why. Here's how Jordan sees the situation in month 1. $4,200 hits the account. Rent is $1,350. Utilities and subscriptions run about $180. That leaves roughly $2,670. Jordan feels comfortable, there's breathing room, no reason to stress. The next few weeks, spending happens naturally. Groceries, gas, a dinner out, a few online purchases, maybe a haircut, maybe a birthday gift. Nothing extravagant. But by the end of the month, the balance is sitting somewhere around $300, and Jordan makes a mental note to be more careful next month. Casey starts the same way. $4,200 in. Rent $1,350. Utilities and subscriptions $180. But before anything else happens, Casey moves $400 into a high-yield savings account and $300 into an index fund. That's automated. It happens the same day the paycheck lands. What's left for the month? $1,970. At first glance, that feels tight. Jordan has $2,670 to work with, and Casey only has $1,970. By the traditional logic of more money available equals more freedom, Jordan should feel better about their finances. But that's the first misleading assumption, that available money is the same as useful money. Here's what actually happens over the course of a year. Jordan, with $2,670 in discretionary cash each month, spends it. Not all at once, not on anything outrageous, but without a destination, money finds its own way out. By December, Jordan has accumulated maybe $800 in savings, mostly from months where spending happened to be lower than usual. There's no investment account. There's no real buffer. The $800 feels fragile. Casey, meanwhile, has been automating $400 into savings and $300 into investments every single month without thinking about it. By December, that's $4,800 in savings and $3,600 invested before any market returns. Now let's apply some real numbers to the investment side. If Casey's $300 monthly contribution earns an average of 8% annually, which is roughly in line with long-term index fund returns after 5 years, that account doesn't just hold $18,000 in contributions, it's closer to $22,000 because compounding has been working the entire time. Jordan, who is still waiting for the right time to start investing, has contributed nothing, not because of income, because of structure, or the absence of it. There's another layer here that most people skip over. Jordan's spending without boundaries tends to inflate. A slightly nicer restaurant than planned, a subscription that seemed useful, a convenience purchase that didn't feel like a big deal. Each one is defensible in isolation, but when discretionary spending has no ceiling, lifestyle creep does most of the damage invisibly. Casey's system creates a psychological ceiling by default. Once the savings and investment transfers happen, the remaining $1,970 is the budget. Not a suggestion, the actual number, and humans are remarkably good at adapting to constraints when those constraints are clear. Here's the deeper truth that most financial advice skips. It's not that Jordan is making bad decisions. Most of Jordan's individual purchases are reasonable. The problem is that Jordan is making spending decisions before making wealth decisions. The order of operations is backward. Traditional budgeting says, earn money, spend on necessities, try to save what's left. The problem is that what's left is almost always nothing, or close to it. Not because the math doesn't work, but because human behavior doesn't work that way. When money is present and accessible, we spend it. This isn't a character flaw, it's just how people function. The system Casey uses, often called pay yourself first, flips that sequence entirely. You treat your savings and investments like a fixed expense, not an afterthought. You automate it, so it requires zero willpower, and you live on what remains. The shift isn't about deprivation. Casey isn't living in austerity. $1,970 a month after rent and utilities is workable, especially when you know exactly what it is going in. The real shift is psychological. When your wealth building is handled first, it stops being something you intend to do and becomes something that already happened. The month can go however it goes, and the important stuff is already taken care of. That reframe, from I'll save what's left to I'll spend what's left after saving, is the entire game. Fast forward 10 years, Jordan earns more now. Most people do over a decade. Let's say income has grown to $5,800 a month, but spending grew with it, the way it tends to when there's no system to contain it. Jordan still ends most months with a thin margin. There's some savings now, maybe $12,000, built up in fits and starts. No consistent investment account. The intention is always there. The execution never quite follows. Casey has also seen income grow. Same $5,800 now, but the system scaled with it. Casey bumped savings and investment contributions whenever income went up, keeping the ratio roughly the same. At that consistent 8% average return, Casey's investment account is approaching $65,000 to $70,000 after 10 years of contributions plus compounding. That gap, between someone who earned the same income and someone who didn't, wasn't created by talent or luck or income disparity. It was created by one decision made every single month automatically before anything else had a chance to happen. And here's the second-order effect nobody talks about enough. Casey now has options. An emergency doesn't become a crisis. A job change becomes a possibility rather than a risk. A down payment becomes realistic. The financial flexibility that most people say they want is built quietly and consistently by a system, not a windfall. Jordan is still waiting for the right moment. Now, this isn't a Casey is better than Jordan story. It's a structure story. Pay yourself first works when the numbers are viable. If someone is genuinely underwater, income barely covering fixed costs, no margin at all, the system still matters, but the first step is different. You have to create margin before you can allocate it. That might mean income has to increase, fixed costs have to decrease, or both. The principle is the same, the sequence adjusts. It also works best when the amounts are automatic and fixed, not aspirational. Telling yourself you'll save as much as possible each month is the same as telling yourself you'll save what's left. It relies on willpower in a moment where willpower is competing with a dozen other things. Set a number, automate it, make it non-negotiable. Even if the number is $100 a month at first, the habit and the structure matter more than the starting amount because both scale over time. The other thing worth saying, this system doesn't require a spreadsheet, a budgeting app, or a financial advisor. It requires one decision, made once, about what gets moved first. Then it runs in the background without requiring daily attention or discipline. That's the point. Good financial systems don't depend on you being perfect. They account for the fact that you won't be. Most people treat money like it'll sort itself out if they just earn more of it. It won't. More income without structure just means more money spent, faster. The behavior patterns that drain a $4,200 paycheck will drain a $6,000 one just as efficiently. The people who end up financially stable, not necessarily rich, just genuinely stable, almost always have one thing in common. They decided at some point that building wealth wasn't something they'd get around to. It was something that happened first, before the month had a chance to make other plans. You don't need to overhaul your lifestyle. You don't need to cut out the things you enjoy. You need a system that puts the important decisions on autopilot and leaves everything else to sort itself out in the space that remains. Jordan and Casey had the same income. One of them has options. The other one has intentions. The difference wasn't the money. It was the order of operations.